Welcome to the Wandering Tangent Review. I'm BJ, with me is Jeff and Gary. Today we're going to talk about the 1999 Japanese monster flick, Godzilla 2000. It throws me off that Godzilla 2000 came out in 1999. There's a disconnect in my brain there.
It was getting ready for the year 2000.
Yes.
Yeah.
They want to make sure it came out before Y2K, I guess.
It had to get the one last movie in there.
To get that one last Godzilla movie out before civilization ends. But anyway, so this is a movie we have a little bit of history with. We will undoubtedly dive a bit deeper into that in our long-form discussion, as this is our review of said movie. So I will kick things off. And so it had been a while since I had seen this movie, and after watching it last night, I'm going to give it a 2. I had thought in my brain I was going to give it probably a 3 for nostalgia sake. Nostalgia sake.
Nostalgia shake.
Yeah, nostalgia
with fries
shake.
and a burger. It's nostalgia shake.
Yeah. Large. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to give it a 2, and the point of that is probably for nostalgia, and I will say that I did watch the dub version.
Oh wow!
I don't think I've ever seen just the subtitled version. In fact, I'm not entirely sure the subtitled version has ever come out, because like the online copy I watched didn't have a Japanese language version. The Blu-ray copy, or the can't remember if it's my Blu-ray or DVD. I have a copy to my computer. It didn't have a Japanese option, so maybe the Japanese option just never got released in the West, and that's why I never watched it. But the dub's not great. It is beautifully idiotic in some places. I have a lot of nostalgia for the dub, but it's not great. A lot of the plot isn't great. I mean, I guess that's one of the downsides. I think I said this at the time even. One of the downsides of a Godzilla -1 is that you can't give Godzilla movies a pass on plot anymore, I guess, right? So the plot isn't great. The last half hour or so, which has most of the monster on monster violence, is good enough. It is a late 90s, early 2000s movie when people are just kind of starting to really play with computer-generated effects, so a lot of the effects are pretty dated. I usually don't have a problem with that, but they were pretty dated in this one. But yeah, it's not my favorite Godzilla movie, obviously. And so I probably would give it a 1, but for the sake of nostalgia, I bumped the 1 up to a 2. So yeah.
The nostalgia does tend to raise the score.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah, a good old nostalgia point. So
does.
I'm curious to see what the rest of y'all think about this.
I kind of went into this. I hadn't seen it in a minute. I actually had watched this to the point where my son has seen it and recognized it and remembers it. So I've seen it at least that recently enough. But I watched it again, kind of trying to go into this with fresh eyes. And BJ, you are right in that you can't give. Previously, you could give Godzilla or other giant monster movies just a pass. You'd be like, it's a giant monster movie. But now you've seen the better, and you're like, no, we know that they can do the better. So now you have to actually give it a real score. I'm going to give it a 1.5. Slightly worse than you. I know. It's just because I agree with you on all of that and so much more. The special effects, which were something that previously would have carried it, did not age well. And I noticed in portions where it feels like they didn't even have to use special effects. They used it. Like there's moments where I think there's ones where it showed a tank driving across the road, but you could obviously see that it was like green screened in or cut in from a previous time, and you're just like, why? And then you ever so notice the times where they just re-looped the same piece of footage multiple times to try to make Jeff's favorite part, all of the tiny little toy models and army dudes, seem like so much more than what they actually had. So,
which is both a negative, but could also be a positive as well, depending on how you look at it.
And also the fact that I sympathize so much more with the villain in this one. I mean, I think at some point previously, it didn't take us long to realize he was right, because the good guys in this one are
like a discussion than a review thing.
Yeah, that's more of a discussion than a review. But anyways,
we can't help ourselves.
Yeah,
I stopped myself from talking about that on purpose. That's a discussion.
Anyways,
I know you're all very tempted to discuss all sorts of things.
1.5, and I'll pass it over to Jeff.
Oh, okay. So, in our discussion, we'll have to discuss who the villain was and all of that, because I have many questions. But anyway, as to what you would call a villain in this. But, okay, I'm going to give it a 2, which is probably higher than I normally should, but I think most people will not sit through a Godzilla movie, which is too bad. They're really just about seeing these models being destroyed and everything, and I think this movie is kind of at a crossroads, because it's kind of in between where modern special effects have taken over, and yet it still has some of the old traditional effects where they have model cities and they have Godzilla going through these towns and all of these explosions and sparks and exploding buildings that crumble and the smoke that they put through these sets. The whole thing is cool looking, but it's obviously it's just like the older Godzilla movies. But I like it because this is like this is as modern as we get, while still having a lot of those traditional special effects. And the storyline's a very generic Godzilla storyline, which it almost makes it more charming. So I think most people would give it a lesser score, but I give it a 2. And I think it's a fun Godzilla movie to watch. There's other Godzilla movies that I enjoy more, but this one has a lot of nostalgia for us, and it's an excellent one. So it is.
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty uniform score. Not that we usually tend to vary widely, but that's pretty close even for us. Only a 0.5 difference from...
I know, it's that decimal again to haunt
I was over here chewing toast. So I was over here chewing down the rest of my lunch when Gary gave his 1.5, and so I couldn't say anything, but I tried to roll my eyes hard enough that y'all could hear it. I guess it didn't come through.
We had to have a fraction at some point.
We're agreeing too much. We have to throw in a 0.5 just to make BJ mad. Anyway, so yeah, that's Godzilla 2000. Maybe not the best Godzilla movie or monster flick out there, but not bad, and it does have a bit of nostalgia for us, which I'm sure we will touch on in our long-form discussion if you want to join us over there for some more nonsense. Or if not, you can come back in a couple of weeks to catch our next review for something. Well, maybe not a couple of weeks. We'll have to see. I don't know. What are we doing next? I can't remember. Find out.
We'll find out too.
We'll find out next time on the next assigned episode. Same bat time, same bat channel. Am I allowed to say that? Is that copyrighted? Who knows? Find out.
Who knows? I guess we'll find out about that too.
If we get a cease and desist, we'll let you know next time on the Wondering Tangent Review. Bye.